The silence of space was broken by the sound of alarms pulsing aboard the Osiris as its sensors detected something unexpected. A colossal structure floating in a remote and unexplored sector of hyperspace. Captain Elatine observed the data projected on the holographic display, trying to process what he was seeing. The structure resembled a giant sphere, surrounded by an energy field that distorted the space around it. Its contours glowed with symbols pulsating like a living heartbeat, each pattern constantly shifting. Whatever this is, Ella muttered to himself, it's not supposed to be here. His voice carried both fascination and apprehension as his mind grappled with the implications of such a discovery. Deep within the ship, Chief Engineer Kara Lynn was working frantically to stabilize the systems, which had begun to falter as the Osiris approached the artifact. "Captain, this thing is pulling us in like a stabilized black hole," she reported over the intercom. "If we cross this threshold, we might not be able to get back." Still, Ella did not retreat. Discoveries like this were rare, and scientific curiosity had always been humanity's driving force. "Bring us closer, but keep the ship on full alert," he ordered. The opportunity to uncover the secrets of the structure was too great to pass up, even if it came with mortal risks. As the ship drew closer, the sphere's form became clearer. Its energy field pulsed in regular waves, as though it were emitting a signal. Milo Venn, the young scientist and expert in theoretical physics, analyzed the patterns nervously. "This isn't just a passive artifact," he said, gesturing to the flickering graphs on his monitor. "This thing is emitting something. I'm not sure if it's a message or a warning." Kara, glancing at the same data, added, "If it's a message, who or what is it being sent to?" Ella interrupted their exchange, his eyes fixed on the sphere. "Orion," he said to the ship's artificial intelligence, "decode the signal. I need answers." Orion projected its initial analysis onto the main screen. "Captain," the AI began, its voice cold but clear, "the signal contains elements that may be interpreted as language. There is a repetitive pattern that could indicate communication or defense." Ella narrowed his eyes. Defense. The word echoed in his mind, bringing forth the most alarming possibility. The structure wasn't just a machine or an artifact. It was something active, perhaps even conscious. And yet, he couldn't shake the drive to investigate. The ship deployed drones to examine the sphere's surface, which soon began transmitting unsettling images. Luminous symbols covered the structure, seeming to react to the drone's presence. Suddenly, the sphere responded. A pulse of energy rippled through space, temporarily disabling the Osiris's systems. The crew panicked, but Orion managed to restore the primary systems. "Captain," the AI reported, "we have received a new signal from the sphere. It's not a greeting, it's a warning." Ella took a deep breath, assessing the situation. "Kara, prepare the infiltration module," he ordered. "Milo, you're with me. We're going inside to find out what this really is." As the crew prepared, the captain knew they were about to cross a dangerous threshold. A boundary that could redefine everything they thought they knew about the universe. The descent toward the sphere was marked by a tense silence, broken only by the mechanical sounds of the infiltration module adjusting to the strange gravity emitted by the structure. Captain Elatine, Kara Lynn, and Milo Venn were equipped with pressurized suits and portable scanners as Orion monitored their vital signs and sent real-time updates. The interior of the sphere was even more intriguing than its exterior. Corridors pulsed with lights moving in organic patterns, as if the structure were alive. "This isn't just technology," Kara remarked, analyzing the data transmitted by her scanner. "It's something hybrid, biological and mechanical. It's as if it evolved rather than being built." "Captain," Orion's voice echoed in their communicators. "The internal configuration is changing as you progress. It appears the sphere is reacting to your presence." Ella observed the corridor walls expanding and contracting like lungs. "So it knows we're here," he replied. Milo, glancing nervously around, asked, "But does it see us as guests or intruders?" The tension grew with every step, and the captain knew his team's scientific curiosity had to be balanced with caution. "Stay alert," Ella said. "If anything feels off, we retreat immediately." When they reached a central chamber, The sight before them was both fascinating and terrifying. At the room's center, a translucent form floated in an energy field, constantly shifting its shape. It resembled a biotechnological core, pulsating with lights that mimicked vital signs. "This is incredible," Milo said, cautiously stepping forward. "It's like the brain of the entire structure." Before he could move closer, the room was filled with a deep, reverberating sound, like distant thunder. Orion spoke quickly. "I've detected an imminent electromagnetic pulse. I recommend you retreat immediately." Without warning, a burst of energy surged through the room, temporarily disabling Kara and Milo's equipment. Ella managed to steady them as they struggled to regain their balance. When the systems came back online, something new appeared. A humanoid figure composed of light emerged from the core, its form flickering like a flame. "You have crossed the boundary," the figure said, its voice reverberating in their minds rather than their communicators. "This place was not meant for your kind." Milo stepped back, terror etched on his face. "It's conscious," he whispered. "This isn't just a machine. It's a being." Ella raised a hand in a gesture of peace. "We don't mean any harm," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "We're only here to understand what you are." The figure observed them in silence for a moment before replying. "Understanding comes with risk. Your kind seeks power but does not yet comprehend responsibility." The words echoed as a direct warning, sending a chill down Kara's spine. "If this is some kind of guardian," she murmured to Ella, "maybe we should back off while we still can." But the captain hesitated. Walking away meant losing a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to explore something that could redefine the boundaries of science. As the group deliberated, Orion sent an urgent alert to Ella. "Captain, the ship systems are detecting an energy buildup in the sphere. It may be reacting to your presence." Ella knew time was running out. He glanced at Kara and Milo. "Gather as much data as you can. We're leaving in 5 minutes." But before they could move, the luminous figure spoke again. "You may leave now and be forgotten, or you may proceed and face the consequences." The words cast a shadow of doubt over the team. What did it mean to proceed? And what consequences awaited them? Ella's decision was interrupted by a sharp, pulsating sound that echoed through the chamber. The walls began shifting again, closing off the corridors they had traversed. "It's forcing us out," Kara said as she adjusted the module controls to search for an escape route. Amid the chaos, Milo noticed something unusual in the biotechnological core. "Wait, it's emitting clearer patterns now, as if it's trying to teach us something." He quickly started recording the changes while Kara shouted, "We need to leave. We can't risk getting trapped here." The sphere seemed to be testing them, and the team was torn between retreating or pressing on. Finally, Ella made his decision. "We're pulling back. I won't risk my crew's lives for something we don't yet understand." They initiated their evacuation, but the figure of light remained, silently watching them withdraw. Before they left the chamber, the voice echoed one final time. "Your curiosity is both your strength and your weakness. Choose wisely." The team returned to the infiltration module, but they all knew they had only scratched the surface of the sphere's mystery. The return to the Osiris was marked by an oppressive silence. Captain Ella, Kara, and Milo were still processing what they had experienced inside the sphere. Orion's hologram flickered on the bridge, displaying the data collected by the team. "Captain," the AI began, "the readings suggest that the sphere's internal structure is highly dynamic, adapting to the presence of living beings. This confirms it is an active entity, not merely an abandoned artifact." Ella crossed his arms, gazing at the projected data. "It warned us," he said, recalling the words of the light figure. "But what is its true purpose? To protect something, or to protect us from ourselves?" In the command room, the crew debated the implications of the encounter. Jared Nall, the science officer, was the first to speak. "We're ignoring the obvious," he said. "This sphere could hold secrets that would put humanity ahead of any civilization in the galaxy: terraforming, advanced biotechnology, large-scale energy manipulation. All of it is there, within our grasp." Milo shook his head in disapproval. And what if that advancement is what destroyed the civilization that created this? You didn't see what we saw, Jared. The sphere isn't a gift. It's a warning. The debate quickly grew heated, and Ella had to intervene. Enough. We won't make decisions based on speculation. First, we'll analyze the data. Until then, everyone remains on high alert. However, divisions among the crew deepened. While Jared and some officers viewed the sphere as a scientific opportunity, Milo, Kara, and others understood the potential danger. Tensions escalated when Orion detected a new pattern in the sphere's energy field. Captain, the AI reported, the sphere is emitting signals at a different frequency. This could be an attempt to establish communication, or preparation for defensive activation. As the Osiris worked to decipher the signals, Kara and Milo had a private conversation in the lab. Do you think we should leave? Kara asked, adjusting the data on her console. Milo looked at her, clearly shaken. I think we've gone too far. Something about that entity made me feel small, insignificant, like it was watching us, not out of curiosity, but to decide if we're worth the risk. Kara was silent for a moment before replying. Maybe that's the point. Maybe it's a test. But the question is, are we ready to pass it? Not everyone shared their caution. Jared and a small group of crew members began organizing a clandestine mission to return to the sphere. The captain is wasting a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, Jared told his allies. If we don't act now, we'll lose everything. The sphere let us in once. Maybe it's just waiting for us to show initiative. They began planning the launch of an infiltration capsule, carefully avoiding the bridge's radar. What they didn't know was that Orion was monitoring their every move. On the bridge, Orion alerted Ella to the suspicious activity. Captain, I've detected increased energy readings in the secondary hangar. Jared Nall and others are accessing an infiltration capsule without authorization. Ella clenched his fists, anger rising. They're putting everyone at risk. Send a security team immediately. But before security could arrive, the capsule launched. Jared and his team sped toward the sphere, determined to explore the biotechnological monolith without the captain's consent. They've just made everything worse, Kara said, watching the capsule disappear into the distance. Inside the sphere, Jared and his team quickly reached the central chamber where the core floated. Fascinated by its complexity, they began analyzing the energy patterns emanating from the monolith. This is extraordinary, Jared said. Awestruck, it's like it holds enough information to recreate an entire planet. One of his allies hesitated. Are you sure we should interfere with this? The light figure made it clear we weren't welcome. Jared ignored the warning and activated an advanced scanner to try to access the data. The moment the energy beam touched the core, the sphere reacted. The structure began to pulse violently, and the light figure reappeared, brighter and more imposing than before. You ignored the warnings, the voice echoed through the room. Your kind is not ready for this knowledge. Jared tried to argue, but the figure cut him off with another energy pulse, disabling the systems on their capsule. Your greed is your weakness. Leave now or face the consequences. The sphere began reconfiguring itself, closing off corridors and blocking escape routes. Back on the Osiris, the impact was felt immediately. Orion alerted Ella. Captain, the sphere is emitting increasingly powerful energy pulses. This appears to be a reaction to Jared Nall's actions. Ella knew he had to act quickly. Prepare the ship for intervention, he ordered. But even as he tried to manage the crisis, Ella felt the situation slipping out of his control. The sphere wasn't just a mystery to be solved. It was a reminder that power comes with a price. Development 3. Secrets unveiled and internal conflicts. Chaos aboard the Osiris was palpable. The sphere, now on high alert, emitted increasingly intense energy pulses, causing interference with the ship's systems. Captain Elatine paced the bridge, fists clenched as he tried to contain his anger. Orion, he said firmly, locate Jared's capsule and give me an update. The AI responded urgently. The capsule is trapped within the sphere's central chamber. Vital signs for the occupants are stable, but the internal environment is becoming unstable. The sphere is reconfiguring its structure. Ella took a deep breath, struggling with the decision ahead. Jared had disobeyed direct orders, but now his life, and those of his allies, was at risk. Inside the sphere, Jared and his team faced the consequences of their recklessness. The light figure loomed over them with an almost overwhelming presence. "You are not the first to cross the boundaries," the voice reverberated through the chamber. "And, like those before you, you are about to face the consequences of your curiosity." Jared, still defiant, tried to reason. "We're here to learn, to evolve. We're not like the others." The figure remained motionless for a moment before responding. "You consider yourselves different, but your actions prove otherwise. This knowledge is not a right. It is a responsibility." As Jared continued his attempts to analyze the biotechnological core, one of his teammates stepped back in fear. "This isn't what we expected. We're tampering with something we don't understand." But Jared ignored the warning, obsessed with accessing the monolith and convinced he was on the verge of a groundbreaking discovery. He barely noticed as the walls around them began to close, as if the sphere were preparing to seal them in permanently. The light figure spoke again, this time in a sterner tone. "You must leave. Now." Back on the Osiris, Captain Ella made his decision. "Prepare the ship for a proximity jump. We're pulling the capsule back." Kara and Milo stood by his side, watching the data flashing across the monitors. "Captain," Milo said, "we can't risk the entire ship to save Jared. He made his choice." Kara, however, disagreed. "If we leave him there, it makes us complicit. We're better than that." Ella listened silently before responding. "This isn't about Jared. It's about the crew as a whole. We don't abandon our own, no matter what they've done." A rescue team was quickly organized, and a module was launched toward Jared's capsule. The approach was difficult, as the sphere's energy pulses caused fluctuations in gravity and navigation systems. Captain Orion said, "The sphere's core is emitting signals of overload. If we don't retrieve the capsule in 5 minutes, it will be too late." Ella authorized the module to proceed, despite the risk of damage to the ship. "Bring them back," he ordered, his voice heavy with determination. Inside the sphere, Jared finally realized the error of his actions. The core was in a state of growing instability, and the light figure appeared more relentless than ever. "You have failed the test," the entity declared. "Your species is not ready." Jared tried to argue once more, but his words were cut short by a pulse of energy that completely disabled the capsule. "We're trapped," one of his teammates said, trembling with fear. Jared looked around, finally feeling the weight of his arrogance. The rescue module arrived just in time, managing to dock with the capsule and pull it out of the sphere. As soon as the capsule was removed, the sphere began emitting a massive pulse that shook the Osiris. Orion warned, "Captain, the sphere is releasing an enormous amount of energy. We must retreat immediately." Ella gave the order to move the ship away, and the Osiris narrowly escaped the pulse's range in the nick of time. The impact was felt even from a distance, rattling the entire crew. After the rescue, Jared and his group were confined, awaiting judgment for their actions. In the command room, Ella, Kara, and Milo reviewed the collected data. "Captain," Kara said, "despite everything, we managed to gather something important. The patterns emitted by the sphere before the final pulse contain valuable information. We may not fully understand it now, but it's a foundation for future exploration." Milo, however, was more cautious. "Those patterns are only part of the message. The other part is clear: we're not ready yet. If we return too soon, it could be the end of us." At the final briefing of the day, Ella addressed the crew. "What we faced today was a reminder that curiosity without caution can be fatal. The sphere is not just a scientific opportunity. It's a test of who we are as a species. Our mission is not just to explore, it's to learn and grow responsibly." Jared and his team made a reckless choice, but that doesn't define who we are. What defines us is how we choose to act moving forward. As the ship moved away from the sphere, the crew tried to process what had happened. Kara and Milo silently watched the structure fade into the distance, its lights dimming until they vanished entirely. But before the sphere was out of sight, Orion detected something unusual. "Captain," the AI said, "there's a small object moving toward us. It appears to be a probe sent by the sphere." Ella narrowed his eyes. "Bring it aboard for analysis, but proceed with maximum caution." The entity's words echoed in his mind. Understanding brings power, but it also brings responsibility. Choose wisely. The Osiris floated silently in deep space, but the mood among the crew was anything but calm. Jared Nall's reckless actions had left scars, and the psychological impact of the encounter with the sphere was beginning to surface. In the containment room, Jared sat in silence as the other confined crew members murmured among themselves. "He put us all in danger," one crew member muttered. Jared, finally speaking, replied in a cold voice, "I was trying to do something big, something that mattered." But his words rang hollow even to himself. In the main laboratory, Carolyn and Milo Venn were focused on the data transmitted by the sphere and the probe it had sent. The probe was a small spherical device, deceptively simple in appearance, yet the signals it emitted were staggeringly complex. "It feels like a puzzle," Kara said as she adjusted the scanner controls. "The patterns are unlike anything we've ever seen before. It might be some sort of coded message." Milo, however, remained cautious. "Or it might be a trap. We can't forget how violently that sphere reacted when we tried to understand it." Meanwhile, on the bridge, Captain Elatine reviewed the ship's damage reports. "What's our status, Orion?" he asked. The AI responded with its usual calm tone. "The ship sustained moderate damage to secondary systems, but nothing critical to operations. However, the crew is showing signs of psychological stress. I recommend strategic breaks and emotional evaluation sessions." Ella nodded but knew that prolonged rest wasn't an option. The sphere had set something in motion, something that demanded immediate attention. The data transmitted by the probe began to reveal an intriguing pattern. Orion projected the initial results on the ship's main display. "Captain, the probe signals contain elements suggesting a star map. However, the markers point to regions of the galaxy not recorded in our systems." Kara crossed her arms, intrigued. Perhaps they're locations of other spheres or something related to them. Milo, who had been silent until now, offered another possibility. "Or it's a test. The sphere gave us this probe to see how we handle the unknown." The emotional impact of the sphere's encounter was becoming evident among the crew. Some, like Kara, were fascinated by the discovery and eager to explore its implications. Others, like Milo, were increasingly concerned about the dangers such discoveries could bring. The tension came to a head during a general meeting where the crew debated their next move. "We have a responsibility to science," Kara argued. "We can't just ignore what we've found," Milo countered, "and we have a responsibility to our safety. We're meddling with something that could destroy us." The meeting was interrupted when Orion detected a shift in the probe's signals. "Captain," the AI reported, "the signals are reorganizing. It appears the probe is attempting to interact directly with our systems." Ella immediately ordered limited access. "Don't let it access our main systems," he said, concerned about a potential breach. Kara, however, insisted the probe needed to be analyzed further. "If we want to understand, we have to take the risk," she said. Ella hesitated but knew Kara was right. "Do it in a controlled environment. We can't afford more mistakes." As Kara and Milo worked on the probe's analysis, Jared was brought before Ella for a conversation. The captain faced him with a stern expression. "You put all of us in danger, Jared. I need to know what was going through your head." Jared replied bitterly, "I just wanted to do something meaningful. We spend our lives exploring the void, searching for something that matters. And when we finally find it, you hesitate." Ella remained silent for a moment before responding. "Making a difference doesn't mean acting recklessly. True greatness lies in knowing when to advance and when to pull back." In the lab, the probe's analysis revealed something unexpected. Beyond the star map, there was another pattern, a complex code that seemed incomplete. "It's as if it's waiting for something," Kara said, frowning. "Maybe it needs a response from us to fully activate." Milo looked at her with concern. "Responding could be dangerous. We don't know what it wants." Kara nodded but continued adjusting the equipment. "It might be dangerous, But if we don't respond, we might never uncover the truth. Ella was called to the lab to review the findings. Captain, Kara said, this probe isn't just a communication device. It's an invitation. It wants us to follow the coordinates on the star map. Ella stared at the patterns on the monitor, feeling the weight of the decision before him. If we follow this map, he said, we could be heading toward something far greater than ourselves, or toward our doom. The room fell silent as everyone pondered the implications. Finally, Ella spoke, prepare the ship. We'll decipher the code, but with caution. We won't do anything blindly. The crew knew they were on the brink of a monumental decision. The sphere had given them something, but was it a gift or a trap? As the Osiris prepared to decode the signal and follow the coordinates, Ella gazed into the emptiness of space. Understanding brings power, he murmured, recalling the entity's words. But it also brings responsibility. The probe hovered in the Osiris's laboratory, emitting a pulsating glow that bathed the room in a bluish light. Captain Elatine, Carolyn, and Milo Venn observed silently as Orion analyzed the transmitted code. The patterns are reorganizing, the AI reported. It appears the probe is waiting for an activation command. Kara, intrigued, stepped closer cautiously. The code seems incomplete. Maybe we're supposed to send a response, as if it's expecting an exchange of information. Milo frowned, visibly uncomfortable with the idea. Send a response? What if that's exactly what the sphere wants us to do? Could be a trap. Ella pondered for a moment, the weight of his decision pressing on him. He looked at Kara and Milo, seeking their perspectives. We're in uncharted territory, he said, but we can't ignore what's in front of us. Orion, what's the risk of sending a controlled response? The AI replied with precision. Risks include the activation of an unknown protocol, potential energy overload, or even a hostile reaction. However, without interaction, it is unlikely we will gain further information from the probe. Kara interjected with determination. We've come this far to understand the unknown. We need to take the risk. With Ella's approval, the team configured a controlled response, using fragments of the original code transmitted by the sphere. When the signal was sent, the probe reacted immediately. Its blue glow intensified, and geometric patterns began to dance across its surface, as though it were thinking. Something's happening, Kara said, monitoring the displays. It's communicating. Suddenly, the probe projected a hologram, displaying a galaxy in constant motion. At the center of the hologram, an unknown star system was highlighted. These are the coordinates, Orion confirmed. The probe is guiding us to a specific location. As the crew processed the information, a message began to form, composed of symbols similar to those on the sphere. Orion translated the first fragments. The message says, the final trial lies beyond. Only the worthy may pass. Kara crossed her arms, intrigued. The final trial? That sounds like a test. Milo, increasingly skeptical, shook his head. This isn't an invitation. It's a challenge. And challenges like this rarely end well. Despite Milo's doubts, the crew was gripped by a sense of purpose. Jared Nall, still confined, watched the hologram projection from his cell. They're going to follow it, he muttered to himself, a mix of regret and envy in his voice. For him, this moment represented the opportunity he had been chasing all along. Meanwhile, on the bridge, Ella convened a meeting. This decision will not be made lightly, he began. If we decide to follow these coordinates, we will be entering territory that could push us to our limits, or beyond them. The discussion on the bridge was marked by conflicting opinions. Some crew members, like Kara, were eager to explore the destination revealed by the probe, while others, like Milo, emphasized the risks. What if this is a trap? Milo asked. The sphere has already shown it doesn't trust us. Why would it send us a map unless it wanted to test us again? Kara responded firmly. If we want to move forward as a species, we need to accept these tests. That's how we grow. The crew was divided, but Ella knew the final decision rested with him. He gazed at the hologram, the coordinates flashing like a beacon in the void. Finally, he spoke. We'll follow the coordinates. but we'll proceed with maximum caution. Orion, prepare the ship for the jump. And Kara, configure containment systems in case we encounter something hostile. Despite his confident words, Ella felt a weight in his chest. Something about the sphere's message suggested they were about to face something far greater than themselves. The jump to the coordinates was marked by an almost reverent silence aboard the ship. When the Osiris emerged from hyperspace, the sight before them left everyone speechless. At the center of an unknown star system was another sphere, even larger than the first. But this one was surrounded by debris, remnants of ships and structures that appeared to have been destroyed in a massive confrontation. Captain Orion reported, the energy signals from this sphere are hundreds of times stronger than the previous one. This suggests it is the center of something much larger. The crew remained silent, processing the scene. Kara was the first to speak. This must be the final trial mentioned in the message. Milo, staring at the wreckage around the sphere, whispered, and it looks like many have failed this test. Ella felt a chill run down his spine but kept his composure. Orion, initiate scans. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with. As the ship sensors gathered more information, it became clear that this sphere was different. Not just larger and more powerful, but also older. Before they could take any action, the sphere began to react. A brilliant light emanated from its core, and familiar symbols appeared on its surface. Orion warned, the sphere is initiating direct communication. Preparing translation. When the message was decoded, it was broadcast to the entire crew. You have reached the threshold, the voice said. Now prove that you are worthy to proceed, or accept the fate of those who came before. The challenge had been issued, and the crew knew there was no turning back. As the Osiris prepared to face whatever the sphere had in store, Ella looked at his team. Remember, he said, what we face here is not just a test of strength. It's a test of who we are. And we will not fail. The intense glow of the new sphere illuminated the Osiris's bridge as the crew watched in apprehension. The challenge was clear, but the nature of the final trial remained a mystery. Captain Ella Tyne analyzed the readings transmitted by Orion while his crew awaited orders. Captain, the AI began, the energy patterns are stabilizing. It seems the sphere is waiting for a response from us. Kara, her eyes fixed on the monitor, took a deep breath. It might be like the probe. Maybe it's expecting controlled interaction. Milo, standing beside her, shook his head. Or maybe it's testing us to see how far we'll go. Ella knew hesitation wasn't an option. Rising from his seat, he looked at his team. We didn't come this far to back down now, he said. Kara, configure the systems for a direct response. Orion, keep all security protocols active. We won't take any step without understanding the consequences. The room fell silent as the crew worked. The sphere seemed to observe, its light pulsing steadily as if alive. Finally, Kara completed the adjustments. We're ready, Captain. We can send the signal whenever you're ready. With a nod, Ella authorized the transmission. The Osiris sent a code based on the patterns collected from the first sphere and the probe. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the sphere began to react. Bright lights rippled across its surface, and the space around it seemed to warp and distort. The light figure they had encountered earlier reappeared, but this time its presence was even more commanding. You have chosen to advance, the voice echoed across the ship. This is the final trial. Show us you are more than those who failed before. Suddenly, the Osiris was enveloped by a wave of energy that temporarily disabled its systems. The crew panicked, but Orion managed to restore the main functions. Captain, the AI reported, it seems we've been transported to an alternate space. The coordinates do not match any known region of the universe. Ella stared at the display as a new vista unfolded. An infinite field of brilliant lights, like stars floating in a liquid void. At the center, a colossal structure emerged, a network of spheres interconnected by streams of energy. This is an entire complex, Kara said, her voice filled with awe. The light figure spoke again. This is the heart of our legacy. Those who reach this point must prove their understanding, their ability to balance power with responsibility. Show us that your species is ready to advance. Before they could ask what it meant, a holographic panel appeared on the bridge, presenting a series of symbols and patterns. Orion began analyzing. Captain, this appears to be an interactive puzzle. The solution may be tied to the data we collected from the previous spheres. Kara and Milo leaned over the panel, working frantically to decipher the patterns. The symbols are connected to principles of balance, Milo said. Every action has a corresponding reaction. If we make a mistake, we could cause an overload. Meanwhile, the pressure mounted. The complex around them began pulsing faster, seemingly reacting to the ship's presence. We're running out of time, Orion warned. If we don't solve this soon, the system may consider us as having failed the test. The crew worked in unison, each member contributing their unique skills. Ella remained calm, guiding his team with precision. Finally, Kara found the correct pattern. This is it, she said, adjusting the controls. The answer is about balance, between curiosity and caution, power and responsibility. When the solution was entered, the complex responded. The pulsations slowed, and the light figure reappeared. You have demonstrated understanding, the voice said, but the true trial lies not here. It lies in what you do with the knowledge you have gained. The Osiris was transported back to its original space, but not without a gift. At the center of the laboratory, a small glowing core was left by the sphere, a fragment of its technology. Captain, Orion reported, the core contains encoded information. It could take decades to fully decipher, but its potential is immense. Kara stared at the core with a mix of fascination and respect. It's a beginning, she said, a step toward something much greater. As the ship made its way back to base, the crew reflected on everything they had faced. Jared Nall, now quieter, watched from his cell, perhaps finally understanding the gravity of his actions. Milo spoke with Kara on the bridge, sharing his doubts. Do you think we're ready for this? He asked. Kara smiled faintly. Ready? Probably not. But being ready was never what drove humanity forward. It's the desire to learn, to grow, that defines us. At the final crew meeting, Ella addressed everyone. What we faced in the spheres wasn't just a test of strength or intelligence. It was a test of character. Their message is clear. Seeking knowledge is not enough. We must understand the responsibility that comes with it. Now, it's up to us to decide what we do from here. His words echoed through the room, instilling a sense of purpose among the team. As the Osiris disappeared into hyperspace, the core in the laboratory glowed softly, as if waiting for the right moment to reveal its secrets. The story of the spheres was far from over. It was the beginning of a new era for humanity, an era of exploration, responsibility, and understanding. But, as always, the future would depend on the choices they made from that moment onward.